Good morning, students. So, our next chapter is chapter 12, the Wise Abbot. Abbot means a person who is the head of the monastery. Monastery means mutt, or we can say convent also. So, in this story, we'll see with the kindness and forgiveness, we can change a person's behavior also and his life also. So let's see the chapter, the Wise Abbot. There was a big monastery in ancient Egypt which was resided by monks. Monastery means convent or mutt, and monks means a religious person who stay in the monastery to get the knowledge of spirituality. The monastery had huge collection of rare books, and this was its pride. The monks who resided in the monastery and the ones who visited often read the rare books. This helped them to enrich themselves with or to get the knowledge on different subjects. Anastasius was the abbot of the monastery, means Anastasia was the head of the monastery. He was a gentleman and very kind hearted person. One day, a monk visited the library to read some books, and he had a temptation, or we can say a desire or habit of stealing a book, and by the end of the day, he could not resist his temptation, means he stole the book from the library. The theft was discovered on the same day because everyone knew him. Everyone in the monastery knew very well who was the thief. The monks reported about the theft to Anastasius, and everyone thought that Anastasius would send somebody to question that monk. But Anastasius did not send anybody. He fled and explained to all that this would only add the sin of perjurers of theft to the monks, or it will spoil the image of the monk, as the monk would invariably deny stealing the book. Meanwhile, the monk was trying to sell the book, and he found a rich buyer also. But the buyer asked him to leave the book with him for a day so that the book could be evaluated for his price. The monk agreed and went back. The buyer immediately went to the monastery and showed the book to Anastasius. The abbot recognized the book at once but did not disclose it to the buyer. The buyer said to the abbot, "A monk wants to sell me this book. He is asking for a gold sovereign. Sovereign means a gold coin as its price. Since you have knowledge about the books, please tell me whether this book is worth that much." The abbot replied, "It is an invaluable book, and its worth is much more than a sovereign." The man thanked the monk and left the monastery. The next day, when the monk came to the buyer, he agreed willing to purchase that book. The monk was overjoyed to hear this news, but he asked the buyer, "Whom did you show this book?" The buyer replied, "Anastasius, the abbot." The monk turned pale and shocked and asked about the reaction of Anastasius. He said, "The book is worth a sovereign," replied the buyer. The monk was amazed and touched, and he realized that in order to save him from the charge of theft or any other trouble, the abbot had refused to reclaim his lost property. The monk then changed his decision of selling the book and decided to go back to Anastasius in order to return him the book. He was not lured even by more price offered by the buyer. He had realized the power of forgiveness showed to him by the abbot, which he had never experienced. The monk went to the monastery and returned the book to Anastasius, but the Anastasius replied, "Keep it with you. I have decided to give it to you." The monk was overwhelmed and pleaded or requested to be allowed to stay in the monastery to acquire wisdom. He was granted the plea and he spent the rest of his life in the monastery and acquired knowledge on various subjects. So, in this story, we have seen the abbot who was very kind hearted person, and with the love and forgiveness, he forgave that monk who stole the book and make him realize that whatever he has done that was wrong.